For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me... He's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump. I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. Right. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country. We need a man on a white horse now. We need somebody who is willing to come in and has the spine and the guts and the strength to challenge orthodoxies, to stand in the way of vested interests, and to break institutions that have turned against our democracy. President Trump has shown again and again that he is that hero. We need a man on a white horse now. We need a man on a white horse now. We need a man on a white horse now.
This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. The man on the white horse. We need the man on the white horse. And of course, RFK talking about once again how God sent Donald Trump. This is a common theme that we continually hear. The brainwashing is so thick that these corrupt politicians continually speak on behalf of God, telling us that because Donald Trump says, well, you know, I don't align with the Democrats' ideologies, that he's been chosen by God to tear down all those ideologies, to make things normal again, and of course, make things great again. And I don't want to have to cover Donald Trump every single day in my content because my channel is not primarily focused on politics. But there's so many things that we're seeing with the New World Order AI governance infrastructure with Donald Trump every single day. We're hearing more and more coming out in the open of what they're trying to normalize, and I'm trying to point that out. And at the same time, there are these quote-unquote religious undertones like RFK talking about the man on the white horse, and it needs to be covered because Christians are clearly falling for a massive deception. Here is somebody posting on Twitter, conspiracy realists. I wanted to point this out, right? Somebody who thinks that they're conspiracy realists. We've heard this become a common theme, right? We hear these people who say, well, the conspiracies are now truth, right? But these people are actually in the conspiracy because they believe in the left-right paradigm. So they have little tastes of truth, but they're nowhere near actually being awake. And these are the things that they say. God sent me President Trump, quoting RFK, and then saying God sent him for all of us. And these people continue to eat this up. But I want to talk primarily about the white horse and the theme of the white horse, because lots of people get confused in the book of Revelation because the white horse is mentioned in two separate verses. Revelation 6:1. Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And he went forth conquering to conquer. This is representing the Antichrist, the conqueror, the deceiver. Remember that the white horseman is the Antichrist imitating Christ, making worship of himself as if he were Christ. And in the book of Revelation, when the four horsemen are mentioned, people forget that in Revelation chapter 19, verse 11, when John sees a rider on a white horse in heaven, that is when we are hearing of Christ as riding on the white horse. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame on fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written, that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. So we have two interpretations of the white horse in the book of Revelation. The first in Revelation 6:1, chapter 6, verse 1, is the depiction of the Antichrist, the conqueror, wearing a crown and holding a bow. In Revelation 19:11, it is clear that that is Jesus Christ returning with the armies of heaven following him upon white horses. And we've heard so many things over the last couple of years about white horses. We've seen rituals performed right in front of us that involve a white horse. Remember the two royal horses that bolted through London last year, where the white horse was dripping with blood? No real explanation was given as to how these horses were let loose and were running wild down the streets of London, let alone the fact that the white horse specifically was covered in blood. And you heard in Revelation chapter 19, verse 13, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. From there, we saw the Olympics, and we all know the Olympics always show us and reveal rituals right in front of our eyes, right? We had that golden depiction of Lucifer, which I broke down, which is available on the website. Of course, got scrubbed off the internet. The majority of people saw them mock the Last Supper at the Olympics and made a big deal about the Last Supper and how they were having a trans Last Supper. But there was so much stuff with that golden Lucifer, as well as this depiction of the Antichrist riding on a white horse walking down the streets of London. That was part of the Olympics opening ceremony ritual. We've seen Beyonce in the latest album that Beyonce released sitting on the white horse. While that might not seem like much to you, remember, Beyonce is one of the major influencers in the world right now. And Beyonce has been showing us four horsemen of the apocalypse symbolism over the last couple of years over and over and over again. The red horse, the pale horse, the black horse, and of course, the white horse as well. There is a major deception obviously going on with Christians falling for this. Really, it's like a circus act that we're seeing, where it really shows you when we talk about separating the wheats from the tares and we talk about lukewarm and how God will spit out those who are lukewarm. It reminds me, I've said it multiple times, but it reminds me of Leap of Faith, that movie with Steve Martin from the 90s, where they show the evangelical preacher who's just trying to rip people off, that Benny Hinn type preacher, where they're putting their hand on somebody and saying, hallelujah, I cast this demon out, and the person passes out on the ground and everybody runs up and the pastor just kind of puts on this circus of a performance and people buy it, right? People from the outside who aren't Christians look at it and they say these Christians are crazy and nuts, and it turns people away from Christianity, right? But then you see the Christians who eat it up and you wonder to yourself what they're actually really truly believing it. Because it's pictures like the one on the screen that you see where you could see it's duping delight is really what it is. I mean, look at the guy all the way over to the left. He's got his hands in his mouth. He's almost crying at Donald Trump's desk. Everybody's around Trump, touching his shoulders. This is a picture they show us quite often. And it's almost like as soon as they say cheese and take the photo, you could see all of them cracking up and laughing at how people are so easily deceived by these ear ticklers, because that's what they are. They tell people things that they want to hear, like we're going to make sure men are men again and women are women again. We're going to make sure that we don't have all of these people trying to eliminate Christianity, or Christians who, I talked about on day one, right? Trump went after, and pardoned people who were arrested for protesting at Planned Parenthood, Christians who were protesting. And we shouldn't even have something like that. As Christians, as citizens, shouldn't even allow that to happen. We shouldn't allow the government to arrest people who are peacefully protesting, who are Christian. But they, of course, arrested them, and then Trump pardoned them because it adds to the charade. It makes people think that Trump is there for them, that he's anointed by God. And remember this clip where Donald Trump says, come on, Christians, everybody come and vote for me. I'm not a Christian, right? He says it as clear as day that he's not a Christian.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
Right? And I've had people out there who've heard that clip and have said, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, I'm a Christian. Where you can even see with his hand gestures, the way he gestures, that he's saying, I'm not one, right? But hey, you hear what you want to hear if you're in a deep psychosis, right? It's like I talk about people in a really abusive relationship. You're in an abusive relationship for years and years. Everybody from the outside sees it, but you don't, right? Until you're out. Eventually you break up with the person. And then all of a sudden you say, how did I not notice that? Because you're in it. You're emotionally in it. You're under the spell of being in that abusive relationship. Everybody else can see it. Everybody else is telling you it, but you don't see it because you don't want to see it. But eventually when you get out, you go, wow, I can't believe I put up with it for that long. I can't believe I didn't see the signs. I can't believe until you're out, right? That's what we're dealing with here, baiting Christians into all of this propaganda that Donald Trump has been anointed by God, right? It's blasphemy in itself that we have Donald Trump talking about how God chose him and God saved him, and all these Republicans talking about divine intervention, right? It's blasphemy, speaking on behalf of God, and that's what these people are doing. God saved Donald Trump. There's no way that bullet would have missed unless God actually did it, right? DARPA's magic bullet that they have, which, again, remember, the narrative the conservatives believe is that the deep state tried to eliminate Trump. So if the deep state tried to eliminate Trump, you would think that they would use their DARPA magic bullet, which is a bullet that can't miss, which is a bullet that can curve and hit any target, right? But they believe that divine intervention, they put this kid who looks like he's off in his head, who looks like he could never outsmart even a toddler, somehow outsmarted the Secret Service, was on a building, nobody saw him, and he missed by an inch because God turned his head. Then they showed you all these photos of the bullet in the air, right? Pictures that you would never, ever, that aren't even possible, that somehow the bullet was caught in a photograph, and they're saying, even this photograph is a miracle, right? Here's all the gaslighting and all the workings that they've done over the last couple of months, showing you, telling you that God somehow intervened and saved Trump. This is convincing Christians that Trump has been chosen by God. This is part of the psychosis that these people are stuck in. And when they hear the rider on the white horse, they're literally thinking in their heads that Donald Trump is like a Christ-like figure, saving America from lunatics with blue hair who want, to get into the schools and get into the libraries. They don't realize that the rider of the white horse is actually the Antichrist that they're depicting here, the deceiver, Donald Trump. Listen.
A lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
The devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle, but an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared!
You don't get slight grazes to the ear. I mean, that is divine intervention, that he was not, mortally wounded.
Fate stepped in, God, the hand of God, call it whatever you like.
Evil came for the man we admire and love. I thank God that his hand was on President Trump.
The fact that this is about milliseconds and millimeters that changes this from being an attempt and an assassination should really talk about the divine intervention that has occurred here.
Trump is truly blessed by the hand of God being able to evade being assassinated.
And we thank him for protecting our next president, Donald J. Trump.
It was a clear assassination attempt. I think there was maybe some divine intervention.
If you didn't believe in miracles before Saturday, You better be believing right now.
It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening.
So that was truly divine intervention as far as I'm concerned.
It's having everybody on the internet saying this is divine intervention. Every frame of the attempted assassination is nothing short of proof that it was divine intervention.
We מסתכל on President Trump. God must have been watching down on the president.
I personally believe that God intervened today, not just on behalf of President Trump, but on behalf of our country.
I'll say that, in my opinion, probably the most famous NFL catch in history is called the Immaculate Reception. I call this the Immaculate Protection. I believe that there was divine intervention to make sure nothing happened to this man. It's extraordinary.
But let's just be real. Donald Trump is anointed by God. Whether you believe in God or not, he had a divine intervention that saved his life. And you can call me crazy, but I think that's the only thing that truly saved Donald Trump. And now he's going to have more support than he's ever had.
Willie, you're right. He's been posting on his Truth Social account. Here's his latest post. It came in just moments ago. Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday. It was God alone, he said, who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness.
Well, when God shows up that clearly, it's hard for even the biggest detractors to deny it. They go, what did I just watch? You just watched God turn Donald Trump's head, literally. We all just watched it. I mean, think about God making his presence known. I mean, on the biggest possible story you ever could. Now you've got people going, okay, I believe it. I believe it.
Wherever I go, God rules. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. I had every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
We are in a spiritual war right now. Let every demonic network that has aligned itself against the purpose, against the calling of President Trump, let it be broken. Let it be torn down in the name of Jesus. You want me to tell you what my thoughts are? The thoughts of the King of Kings, the thoughts of the Lord of Lords. I'm downloading heaven.
And that's the psychosis that they've gotten into people's heads, right? All of this stuff about, Donald Trump being chosen by God. Donald Trump is God. If you question Donald Trump, you're questioning God. This is how bad the psychosis has gotten. And people seem to forget that famous poem that Donald Trump continually reads about being the snake, the deceiver, right? And you knew who he was from the beginning. Here's a clip of it.
I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
So when they're talking about the white horse, they're talking about the deceiver. They're talking about the Antichrist who imitates Jesus Christ. And these people are all eating it up. They're telling you right in front of your faces, this is all biblical. They're using biblical references on purpose, right? RFK is talking about how he prayed to God and prayed to God. I thought Democrats weren't Christians, by the way, but he prayed to God for a purpose to help. He's going to help out, right? He's going to help the children. He's going to come in as a hero for the health movement, right? Meanwhile, he's invested in CRISPR, which is gene editing. And Donald Trump is talking about gene editing on day one of being put in office. And these people don't get it because all they need to hear is the word God associated with Trump, and they get excited because deliberately the Democrats tried to do everything possible to make Christians feel oppressed. We're taking your speech away. If you protest Planned Parenthood, we'll arrest you, right? So they got all worked into hysteria that all they hear is Trump, God, Trump, white horse, Trump, chosen, divine intervention. These are very easy mind control tactics that are being played on them. I can assure you he has not been chosen by God. In fact, there's more signs and symbols surrounding Trump that prove he is a deceiver, that prove he's part of the deep state. I mean, it's incredible even the stuff that's been released where, again, the government creates psychological operations. The island that Jeffrey has that we keep hearing about in the flight logs. The government made this up and fed it to everybody. This replaced the actual pizza parlor where people were posting pictures, and all these celebrities like Patton Oswalt were showing up there, putting up all these disturbing tweets, and Rainn Wilson and James Gunn. People just forget about that. They forgot all about it. These celebrities who are still walking free, they're putting all this stuff up on their Twitter accounts thinking that nobody would notice it. And then when people started to become aware because of channels like this at that time, connecting to the owner of that place and all the buildings around it and the signs and the symbols and the tunnels, right? Conveniently, they brought in Q right after that. What else did they do? They brought in this flight log and they attached celebrities and politicians to it. And everybody just went in that direction because the government created a psychological operation so that these people would go in this direction and believe in something completely fabricated. Now, I'm not saying that that guy Jeffrey wasn't involved in those things. Of course he was. But he's also not really dead either. And the people on that list are never going to be arrested. They're going to pretend like people like Diddy are going to prison and being held accountable when they're not. They're just being moved out of the spotlight and put somewhere else. That's what happens to these people, right? So why wouldn't, if all of these people believe in that psyop, it's as plain as day, right? If they believe in that psyop, then why are there so many photos of that guy and Donald Trump side by side? Why does he get a free pass? Because they're the person in the abusive relationship who doesn't want to see it, right? And that's not even a real situation. That's a government-created psyop. It doesn't mean, again, that Jeffrey wasn't involved in those things, but they fed everybody that so they would stop investigating the pizza place and the Clintons and all the foundations that were located right in that specific spot in D.C., where randomly the guy who runs a pizza place is on the top 50 list of most important people in Washington, D.C. And then photos emerge of late-night ping-pong games inside of the White House with Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro. There were so many things that made no sense until you started connecting the dots and you said, oh my goodness. There's pictures on this guy's Instagram account of 2-year-olds with nothing on except a piece of pizza held over their crotch area, right? I mean, the things were absolutely disturbing. I can't go into detail. But these people are believing what they want to believe. And we talk about the Sinclair Broadcasting Group, right? Where they put these things out and they just repeat the narrative. And everyone goes, look at this, Sinclair Broadcasting Group, right? A threat to our democracy, a threat to our democracy. Everyone goes, look at this. The Democrats believe in this mind control. They just keep saying the same thing over and over again, and then they believe it. Well, they do the same thing to the Republicans. I just showed you the clips of divine intervention. The alt-right media, just every single day, divine intervention, divine intervention. And then you hear it long enough, you believe that God really intervened and saved this guy. They martyred him so that you would get led astray and believe that he was chosen by God while he's bringing in AI governance. The World Economic Forum's goal for Agenda 2030 to have AI governance in place, talking about cancer-curing shots. All these things within weeks of him being inaugurated, right? All they need to hear is that God saved me, and that's it. And then you look at all the things that he's bringing about, and they ignore it. Oh, all of a sudden he wants to bring back some gene editing, and everybody's like, oh, well, I'll just ignore that. God chose him. You know, so he's got somebody in his ear, and he's just letting them say what they want to say, right? And then they see him tearing down the government, tearing down the agencies, and they're like, this is great. But they don't realize that's how this is all going to work. They're going to tear all government agencies down and remove the human beings from government and replace it with artificial intelligence. Trump is the snake. And everybody with eyes to see and ears to hear have known that from the beginning. So we're getting references to the white horse. And of course, all of these Christians, it's right over their head. And again, there's 2 depictions of the white horse in the book of Revelation. The rider of the white horse in Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. And I looked and behold a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering to conquer. Is a depiction of the Antichrist riding on the white horse. In Revelation 19:11, it's Jesus Christ when he returns to earth with his army behind him. So much going on in regards to the white horse over the years. I've covered a lot of the things with each horse and what it represents. Those videos are available on the website, as well as Beyonce and all of the symbolism that we continually see with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But all it takes, folks, is a picture of Donald Trump with people huddled around him at his desk, everybody with their eyes closed. I mean, you could just imagine the laughter that breaks out once the camera is off for the stage photograph, right? I mean, it's like the evangelical Christian movement, which again is a CIA operation to make Christians look a certain way, sound a certain way. Have you noticed how cookie cutter most churches are? How they don't go into too much detail about Revelation or the synagogue of Satan, right? And they always, most of them, I mean, I know a lot of you listen to, who you listen to, and you probably have pastors that you listen to who talk about the book of Revelation. I'm talking about the overall, the one in your town. If you were to go to a church in your town, you're like, oh man, and all they're doing is talking about peace and joy and love, and probably talking about how Donald Trump has been chosen to save everyone, and everybody doesn't realize why they're so miserable because of the psychosis that the government and technology have put them in, right? But you can only imagine the thinking level, the thought process of people who are actually buying in to this act. The rider of the white horse, ladies and gentlemen, Donald J. Trump. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.